Hello everyone, welcome to my channel, if you consider this a channel. Today I want to talk about something that I've been recently obsessed with, and that is RulesHorror. So what is RulesHorror? I cannot find any clear definitions on the internet, so here's me trying to define it. RulesHorror is a small subgenre of horror, where the horror story mainly revolves a bunch of rules. It can be something like a set of rules from an instruction manual, or it can be a set of rules that is just revealed to one of the characters or multiple characters. The main place where I consume rules horror stories is the Chinese internet. So there might be some that are on the international internet, but forgive me if I haven't paid too much attention to them. And from what I've seen from the Chinese internet, there are two major kinds of rules horror stories. One is plotless. You can barely call it a story. It's just a bunch of rules written somewhere or presented in a certain way. And from these rules, you can actually infer what is happening behind the scenes and what is happening in this area that is described. And the other kind is somewhat like a real-life game, where people get into a situation, usually with different characters under different circumstances. In these kind of stories, the characters are trying to survive in different horrible situations with the help of those rules. What I also found from these stories is that a lot of times the rules, they can be contradicting to each other, and it's up to the players or the adventurers to figure out which rules are true, which rules are false, and how to apply different rules under different situations. And if you can understand Mandarin Chinese and you can tolerate robot voiceovers, you can search Rules Horror on YouTube and you can find a bunch of poorly animated but sometimes very funny animation skits. Now, this is not the main focus of this video. The main focus of this video is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, Rules Horror story on the Chinese internet. And it's called Rules Horror at the City Zoo. Very simple name. It is technically plotless, so there's no active characters in the story. All you have are different sets of rules. And these different sets of rules are for different people who are caught in this very zoo. So let's begin. And a thank you for Redditor Sci-Fi Real for this translation. And shout out to the original author, 16椰子, 16 coconuts. Now let's begin. Let's start with the welcoming introduction to the rules. Dear visitor, welcome to the largest zoo in our city. This zoo is home to most kinds of animals in the world, and we guarantee that each type of animal is provided with an environment suitable to them. We wish you and your children a pleasant time at the zoo. During your visit, please adhere to the following rules. In order to ensure your safety, deviate at your own risk. So this first part of the rules is for the visitors to the zoo, which means they are tourists, they don't work there. You may consider this is the rules for the normies. Number 1, our rules safety is absolutely top-notch, and there is no chance at all for animals to escape. In particular, small herbivores are mostly kept in closed areas you cannot touch. Therefore, if you see rabbits on the ground, please move away from it immediately with your children and report to a zoo worker. Do not attempt to walk towards the rabbit, and do not touch it, especially when the rabbit has discovered you and is approaching you at high speed. Something already seems wrong, isn't it? Rule number 2. There is only one passageway through the monkeys area, and only monkeys are on display. If you see two passageways and display animals include rabbits, please take the path on the left and finish your travel through the area as soon as possible. Rule number 3. Elephants are a type of enormous animal with fan-like ears, long noses, and column-like legs, and they are not white. Make sure you see and only see elephants in the elephants area. Number 4. The drink stalls in the zoo do not provide rabbit blood. If you see some on the shelf, do not purchase. So as you can tell, something is not right with the zoo. For example, why are we afraid of rabbits? Why can there be two passageways in the monkeys area? And why would it be dangerous if you go on to the right? And finally, why would they sell rabbit blood as some kind of drink? Now let's continue. Rule number 5. Do not loiter alone under the tree's shadows in the rabbits area. Rule number 6. This zoo does not have an aquarium. If a zoo employee attempts to sell you a ticket to the aquarium, refuse. Rule number 7. If you already see the aquarium, leave immediately and dial the number on your map to notify us. Rule number 8. Do not feed the rabbits. Any other animals will be fine to feed. Rule number 9. Rabbits don't laugh. If you hear laughter emanating from a direction where there are no persons when visiting the rabbits area, tear the corner of your visitor's map marked with a dashed line and hold the torn bit in your hand until you leave the zoo. Number 10. If you disobey any of the above and find yourself lost or separated from the people in your party, please make your way to a drink stall within 15 minutes and inform an employee in blue uniform. Note, if you see a zoo employee in black, pretend not to hear whatever they have to say to you. The employee will immediately send you to the employee's passageway in the lions area. Do not be afraid. The lions here will not attack you. Hide behind the scenery mountain. After all white lions start roaring, an employee will guide you away. Please make sure this employee is in blue uniform. At this point, your family and friends will be waiting for you at the gate of the lions area. After this, depart the zoo immediately. So, what have we learned here? Something must not be right if you see the aquarium. And there are people in the zoo actually trying to lead you into the aquarium. But does the aquarium exist or not? Of course it does. But why is it dangerous for a normal visitor to enter into the aquarium? Let's continue. Rule number 11. Our zoo only has 4 white lions. If during the situation described by point 10, you see more than 4 white lions roaring, do not leave the zoo and inform an employee. Leave after the number of white lions returns to 4. Number 12. You can purchase any animal merchandise for children aged under 12, including toy rabbits. Children aged 13 to 17 have to dispose of toy rabbits within 1 month of purchase. People aged 18 and above cannot purchase the toy rabbits. Number 13. If you see somebody wearing rabbit ears mix in the crowd into the elephants area, you must abort visiting that area. If you disobey this rule, the zoo cannot guarantee your safety and cannot provide any solutions. Number 14. The lions area is safe. If you encounter any situation you cannot resolve and find yourself without help, please immediately, at all costs, and by all means, make your way to the lions area. Number 15. Be alert of anyone in your party you've lost once or above, especially when they repeatedly suggest visiting the aquarium or the elephants area. As long as you obey the rules above, you will have a pleasant time at the zoo, and you and your children will live with immense joy and knowledge. Obey the rules and be safe. We wish you a happy visit. Now, from the last few rules, we can clearly tell that somehow rabbit is a danger in this very zoo. What's interesting is that this danger can spread like some kind of contagion, and like some kind of mind-snatching zombie virus, it will alter those who are under its influence. And also, what's worth noting is that those under its influence will try to trick others into going to a potentially dangerous area, which is the aquarium. Now, these are the rules for the visitors. Let's move on to the rules for the employees. Let's start with the preface. Our zoo has very high employee benefits, 10 times after-hours pay, and a generous annual leave allowance. All employees are insured. Remembering and observing the rules, we hope you work hard and diligently and ensure your own safety. Life is precious, and you only live once. For your family, please protect yourself and obey the following rules. Now that's a little ominous. Rule number 1. If you see rabbits on the loose, do not engage in direct capture and do not approach. Attract them to lions area and hand off the rest to the white lions. Rule number 2. The monkeys area has only one pass through. If a visitor reports to you there are 2 and rabbits are spotted, please guide everyone already entered to the left passageway and close the entrance gate. After all visitors have left, put the monkeys area under lockdown for at least 10 minutes. Rule number 3. When expecting the elephants, if you feel the elephants you see appear different from the elephants depicted on zoo signage, stop looking and reaffirm to yourself that the real elephant is the animal depicted on signs and not what you see. Rule number 4. If you work at a drink stall, check the shelves once every hour. If rabbit blood suddenly appears out of nowhere, collect them and dispose of them properly. Rule number 5. Trim the bushes in the rabbit's area once every month and try your best to eliminate shaded areas in this zone. Rule number 6. The zoo does not have an aquarium. If your colleague mentions it and confirms it exists, stop your conversation immediately, and he or she is no longer someone you know. So, what do all of these rules indicate? Well, first of all, there is something that is clouding your judgment or your cognition in this very zoo. Why would you see random rabbit blood on the shelves when you are working at the zoo? And why would you see things that are not elephants in the elephants area? And finally, why would someone who used to be your colleague turn out to be not your colleague? If you go back to look at the rules for the visitors, you see that similar things can happen to visitors. When a visitor gets lost more than once, and they started urging you to go into the aquarium, you know that they are no longer your friend or your family. And once again, we are presented with the mentioning of the aquarium. Both the visitors and the normal zoo employees will be repeatedly reminded that the aquarium doesn't exist. And if someone suggests you go into the aquarium, you should stop communicating with them. This might mean that the aquarium is somewhat of a hostile environment, or at least hostile to the visitors and the normal zoo employees. What this also means is that mere communication with people who have seen the aquarium could be a source of danger to you. Let's continue. Rule number 8. The rabbits are fed once every 7 days, and only the prescribed food items may be used. Number 9. If you hear laughter emanating from a direction where there are no visitors in the rabbits area, tear off the last page of your employee handbook following the dashed line. Hold a torn bit in your hand and proceed to the elephants area. Throw this piece of paper onto the grass there. Other employees will know what has happened. They will not accuse you of littering. Number 10. If a visitor asks you for help and claims to have separated from their friends or family after disobeying the visitor guidelines, immediately take the visitor to the lion area and then hand them off to the lion area staff. They will know what to do. During this process, you may notice colleagues in black uniforms trying to assist you work. Refuse and ignore them. They are not your colleagues. Number 11. There are only 4 white lions in the lions area. If the number suddenly changed above 4, show them rabbit blood and splash it onto the first white lion that approaches. Depart immediately after doing so. Do not watch the extra white lions during this time. So what we are seeing here is the confirmation that there are only 4 lions in the lions area, and somehow the lions area holds a responsibility to help those under the influence of this unknown contagion. What's also interesting is that rabbit blood, previously described as not suitable for anyone to drink, is used to distinguish quote-unquote fake lion from the real white lions. And once again, there is mentioning of uniform in black. Remember, zoo employees wear uniforms in blue. What is also worth mentioning here is that the rule tells you not to look at the fake lion during this process. This seems to indicate that mere visual contact will help spread the contagion. If you pay attention here, what kind of rabbit needs feeding only once every 7 days? Apparently, this is not true rabbits, are they? And for those of you who are familiar with the SCP Foundation, this may sound like the mimetic agents mentioned in some of the lores. Keep this notion in mind, for it is going to be very important in understanding what is happening in the zoo. Now let's continue to the rest of the employee handbook. Rule number 12. Do not steal, organize, or replenish the stock of rabbit merchandise. When possible, avoid touching all rabbit merchandise all over the zoo. If a visitor mentions purchasing a rabbit merchandise item, make sure its future owner is under 18 years of age. Otherwise, do not sell. If you see somebody wearing rabbit ears entering the elephants area, disperse all visitors around and stand guard at the gate of the area until you hear the screaming of a child. Number 14. It is normal to have episodes where you feel ringing ears, shortness of breath, migraine, red eyes, they should last under 5 minutes. If these symptoms last longer than 5 minutes, stop working and make your way immediately to the lions area. Rule number 15. Friendly treat the white lions. You do not need to take any precautions when there are only 4. They are trained to be nice to humans from a young age. And here comes a scratched off part. If you, unfortunately, are attacked by normal white lions but did not immediately die, Rule 6 and 7 no longer apply. Do not go to a hospital. You will not die. Upon leaving the lions area, go to the aquarium. You will soon see it. You will be wearing a black uniform. Now that's hell of a twist. This explains one thing, that normal zoo employees wearing blue can on occasion turn into employees wearing black. And once you started wearing the black uniform, you will start working for the aquarium. But why would the condition on which you turn into an aquarium employee be having been bitten by one of the white lions? Okay, so what do we know so far? First, we have further confirmation that anything resembling rabbit is a danger to anyone. This includes both visitors and normal zoo employees. And secondly, there is some kind of entity in this very zoo that will let out laughs or cries like little children. But what is it? What does it want? We don't know yet. And thirdly, as a zoo employee, you will be subject to the mimetic influence of this entity. You will suffer migraines, ear ringings, and other kinds of symptoms that indicate that your mind is under some kind of malicious external influence. Now let's get into the next section. It's a very short section, but it's very juicy. This section describes a notice posted in front of the gate of the aquarium. If you are fortunate to see this poster, please lay low. Letting others discover that you can see it is taboo. We believe that you have established based on the visitor guidelines that the zoo is not safe and even strange. We are an undercover government operation intended to protect the innocent. Please follow the below instruction to keep yourself safe. This is the only way to leave the zoo. Rule number 1. Enter the aquarium. Nobody works here. Pick up a set of black uniforms and put it on. This is the only way to signal to our agents. When you are walking outside, do not worry about other zoo employees. They will not mind your existence. Rule number 2. Do not visit the lions area. Rule number 3. Everywhere you go, make sure you can see rabbits present. Runaway rabbits, rabbit merchandise, people wearing rabbit ears, or the rabbit blood from drink stores. Rabbits are our symbol and code word. They represent safety and protection. Rule number 4. When visiting the elephants area, do not read any signage. Rule number 5. Do not trust anything written on the map, and do not follow them. If you follow any of them, please check if the map you collected at the zoo entrance has a dashed line. Tear off the corner marked by the dashed line and make your way to the rabbits area. There, feed this piece of paper to rabbit while avoiding detection, and stay there. You can leave after hearing laughter not produced by visitors. You can leave this area. After this, go to the monkeys area. The safety exit is end of the right passageway. Now this is interesting, isn't it? Everything in the notice in front of the aquarium gate is in direct contradiction to the other rules. But what does this mean? What does it mean to be an employee of the aquarium? We'll find out later. The next section is even juicier. It's a piece of paper picked up by a visitor. On the side, there is a scratched word, survive. Rule number 1. Rabbit blood doesn't exist. It is goat meat. And this line is repeatedly crossed out and rewritten. The crossed out bit is ineligible. Rule number 2. Goat area is elephants. Underneath this line was a scribble of an elephant with rabbit ears. Notice the rabbit ears. Rule number 3 is actually scratched out. Rabbits eat monkeys, and scratched out, and there's a question mark above the word monkeys. Do not talk to employees in the monkeys area. Do not get out, and do not feed the monkeys. Do not enter when there's only one passageway. So you can see there's already some kind of contradiction to the rules for the visitors. Rule number 4, do not enter the aquarium when it's empty. Rule number 5, only goat meat is edible. Rule number 6, if the aquarium's lights are off at night, you can spend the night there. They do not lock the doors. Rule number 7, the first 4 lions are monkeys, And the fifth white lion is a goat. Rabbits are elephants. Blue is black. This sentence is emphasized. Rule number 8. You are an elephant. This sentence is extremely scratchy. Rule number 9. I am a goat. This sentence is strangely tidy. So, what do these all mean? This is probably the most disturbing section of all of the pieces of information that we can get about the zoo. First of all, this is not an official section of rules. It is only a piece of information, presumably from a visitor or coming from a former employee. We actually don't know who the person who wrote this note is. We already kind of established that anything that can be connected to rabbits is a bad sign. And this is actually the first time we see anything that is connected to goat. And it says goat meat is edible. And there's no rabbit blood. Does that mean goat meat and rabbit blood are the same thing? We'll get to the answer later. There's also indication that whoever wrote this note was having a moment of crisis of whether they believe they are still human. And at the last part, they stopped believing they're human. At first, they thought they were elephants. And then they believed they were goats. And this sort of answers questions raised by previous sections of rules. What are elephants? Well, they are actually humans. Now let's continue. This section is a note posted inside the aquarium. Rule number 1. Do not enter when there's anybody around. If an employee welcomed you after your entrance, find an excuse to leave after reading this. If nobody has appeared up to the point you are reading this, you can stay and visit or rest. All food items are free here, and please help yourself. Take care not to eat goat meat. If you see items so marked on the shelf, ignore them. Rule number 3. If you enter the aquarium before 4 p.m. on a day, please limit your stay under 30 minutes. Rule number 4. If you enter the aquarium after 4:01 p.m. on a day, please stay no shorter than 4 hours. Rule number 4. This is an aquarium, and only marine animals are on display. If you see an elephant swimming in the whales area, do not scream or appear shocked. That is a 3D hologram installed for amusement. Treat it normally and pretend it is a whale. Rule number 6. The aquarium can be used to spend the night. Left of the jellyfish area are guest rooms for tourists and vagabonds. If you need to use guest room, please switch off the jellyfish night lamp in your room before going to sleep. Now this is a small translation issue. By vagabonds, in the original text it means the homeless, but I guess it's very similar. Rule number 7. Our employees don red uniforms and only perform routine cleaning and checking every night after 0:30 a.m. If you encounter a person in black uniforms claiming to be an employee, you can talk to them and can ask them to temporarily show you around. Do not hand your maps to this person, particularly the corner you can tear off following the dashed line. Number 8. Disobey the above rules. All consequences are at your own cost. Rule number 9. The aquarium exists and does not serve any organization. So right now we have a new set of employee uniforms. That is the red uniforms for the aquarium employees. And connecting this with the section before, we still don't know what it means to wear a black uniform. All we know is that persons in black uniforms will try to trick you. Now let's move on to the aquarium employee regulations. Rule number 1. The aquarium does not need work during the day. Your shift is from 0:30 a.m. to 6 a.m. You are allowed to arrive late or leave early when appropriate, but you must not arrive early or work past 6 a.m. Rule number 2. There are guest rooms provided for tourists or vagabond people in need. Please check if they turn off their jellyfish night lamps before 1 a.m. If not, remind them until they switch the lights off. You are authorized to forcibly switch off the lights. No matter what, do not keep any jellyfish night light on past 1:15 a.m. Rule number 3. The dead elephants drowned in the whales area is an experimental 3D hologram. Do not mind them, no matter how realistic. Do not investigate where the hologram switch is. It is not necessary to switch it off. Now that's a lot of information for 3 rules. First, we know that only during certain hours is the aquarium safe. Second, what's the deal with maintaining that all lights must be turned off at night? Now let's move on. Rule number 4. The surveillance room's equipment is damaged and repair is impractical. Please physically patrol the aquarium once every hour. Sudden power cuts and unknown noises are normal, and do not worry about the safety of those fish. If you feel unsafe, you may rest in the jellyfish area. This area has reinforced power supplies and will not experience power cuts. Number 5. It is normal for incoming visitors to be holding a map of the zoo. Do not answer questions such as where is the aquarium within the zoo. If this visitor insists that you answer, you may leave at once. Rule number 6. Charge the jellyfish lamps every Sunday before you finish your shift. Do not forget. Rule number 7. Refresh the food items on shelf every day. If you see unknown items marked as goat meat, please store them in a dedicated box in the whales area. Someone will take care of this for you. Rule number 8. You can visit anywhere within the aquarium, but do not leave. If a boarding visitor wishes to leave before 6 a.m., try your best to stop them. If you fail, avoid physical contact and do not follow them. Continue with your duties. Rule number 9. If a visitor wears a uniform similar to yours but in black, refuse this person's request to stay and use force to drive them away. The workbench in jellyfish areas has stun gun and tranquilizer round. Rule number 10. If a visitor brought rabbit merchandise, steal them when this person is asleep and store them in the dedicated box in the whales area. They will not ask you when they awaken. Rule number 11. If a visitor tries to chat with you, you can respond back as long as the lamp is still turned off in time. Do not mention zoo. If this topic is brought up, change the topic immediately. Rule number 12. The aquarium is operated independently and there is nothing such as a zoo outside. Remember this. So, this is another set of rules that has some contradictions to the rules outside of the aquarium. Let's move on to the next section. This section is a sticky note left behind by an ex-guard who worked in the elephants area security room 3 years ago. To the person taking the shift after me, someone who stumbles across this room, or to a new guard working here, greetings. Please, you must follow these instructions on this note. There are experiences I've accumulated that can ensure your own job safety and sanity. I don't want to lose another colleague and don't want to experience strange events. I trust that you don't either. After seeing these, pretend nothing happened and carry on with your duties. Rule number 1. At any moment, remember the color of your uniform. It can be any color, red, blue, black. Do not change the colors of your clothing. It is key to remain firm on your self-perception. Do not let it discover that you are experiencing doubt or panic about the outside world. Number 2. Believe, believe, believe. Humans are worthy of trust. Only humans do. Rule number 3. Rabbits eat people. People wearing rabbit ears won't. The shades eat people. The gardener trimming the trees won't. The elephants will eat people. The people watching elephants won't. The people not watching elephants won't either. White lions eat people. Glowing jellyfish won't. And then there's some additional scribble with childish handwriting because jellyfish don't have a brain. And then this is the end of the scribble. Rule number 4. It will cry when it is hindered. It will laugh when it succeeds. Don't care what it is. Run away whenever you discover it. They don't yet know. Who's staying here? Rule number 5. Any strange food items that appear on shelves are tests. Do not read labels, and do not care how other people call them. Ignore. Purchase and consume them if necessary. Do not let it know you feel its presence. This is the first section of rules that addresses the existence of this entity directly. It is it. But what is it? We don't know yet. But we can know it is malicious. And combining this with previous sections of rules, we know that it can confuse people. It can alter their self-perception. Remember the visitor that believed they are a goat or an elephant? And apparently, after your self-perception changed, you will turn into some kind of human-eating monster. What's also interesting is the description of it. It will laugh when it succeeds. It will cry when it fails. And remember from previous sections, there's mentions of hearing laughters emanating from strange directions. That is it. It is in the zoo. And as you can probably reason, the mere knowledge of knowing its existence can lead you to become infected with this contagion, this mimetic agent. And if you're not cleared of it, you will start to doubt yourself and wonder if you are human. Now let's move on to the last official section of the rules. It is a document on the zoo director's desk. No intro, no title. just a printed document, firmly held onto the wooden desk with tape. Rule number 1. Accept all employees, no matter what color uniform they are in. Though we only provide blue uniforms at the zoo, if someone wears a black or red uniforms in the same style, please treat them as employees too. Rule number 2. When there's nobody outside, it is normal for you to hear a child's laughter or cries in the hallway. Ignore. Pretend not to hear. You must not appear distressed or disconcerted. Rule number 3. Do not allow employees to bring pets into the zoo. If someone insists, don't penalize them, but ask them to bear all responsibility for their action. Rule number 4. Count the number of white lions every 3 days and record the changes in numbers in the spreadsheet named IT. Do not investigate what it is, and do not rename the file. Do not discuss with anybody, including family. Rule number 5. Every map has to have a portion one can tear off following the dashed line. The map is manufactured by a special company whose contact details are on your computer. You must keep at least 3 maps in the office at all times. Rule number 6. No matter how often elephants area guards resign, how much benefits they want, treat them well, and do your best to meet their demands. The demands are not unfounded, but do not investigate why they do so. Rule number 7. When you are checking in with employees on duty, if you see them catch fugitive rabbits, fetch dried jellyfish, or rabbits killed by white lions, these are normal. Do not complain or penalize the employee, but make sure all procedures are indeed thoroughly carried. Rule number 8. The light in your office must be on between 1:15 a.m. and 6 a.m., even if there is nobody inside. This place has the most sturdy power supply infrastructure in the entire zoo, and power outages are not normal. If the power is out, immediately tear off the corner of a map following the dashed line and walk out holding it in your hand. Tell the first employee you see about this, no matter what color uniform this person is wearing, and no matter what this person is about to do. Your request for them to help you handle the power outage will not be refused. Rule number 9. Do not investigate if the aquarium exists. However, if you see the aquarium, you can take a walk inside. When outside the aquarium, please obey the poster posted outside. When inside the aquarium, please obey the poster posted inside. If the 2 posters conflict with each other, decide which poster to follow based on where your body is located when you see the rule. Rule number 10. The sofa in your office only has toy monkeys and toy white lions. If a toy goat, rabbit, elephant appears, there's no need to work at your desk. Leave and only return after surveillance room employees confirm the extra toys are gone. Rule number 11. You can nap in the afternoon, but if you choose to do a night shift, do not nap at night. Keep awake and alert at all costs. If you cannot guarantee this, do not go on a night shift. Rule number 13. It is normal for the rubbish bin to contain dried out jellyfish. Simply remind the cleaner during rubbish collection. Rule number 14. If you fail to obey any of the above, pretend nothing wrong happened and spend 13 hours in the office. If you are hungry, please order delivered food and ask an employee to bring the food in. Do not leave the office. Do not make eye contact with the employee or the delivery driver. Do not look into mirrors. Remind yourself constantly that humans have and only have 2 eyes. Rule 15. Remember at all times that the safety and well-being of humans are more important than animals. When necessary, sacrifice any animal. Don't be merciful. You don't know if it is an animal or not. And here it is, the longest and most detailed section of the rules. From all of this, we can know a few things for almost certain. The first one is there are employees in uniforms of different color working in the zoo, and they should be restricted to certain areas with different sets of rules governing their behavior and their duties. And the second is it exists, and we can actually guess that the very purpose of establishing this zoo and aquarium is to somehow contain it. And the zoo's director, no doubt, has the most responsibility amongst all of the employees of this very zoo. And what's more interesting is that maybe it can impersonate humans, and particularly the employees of the zoo, which is why the director needs to be reminded constantly that humans have only 2 eyes. It appeared that it does not know that humans have two eyes. And thirdly, and perhaps most importantly, we can confirm that it has the ability to influence human cognition and understanding, both of the world and themselves. And it is very likely that it is itself something like a SCP mimetic agent, where the knowledge of its existence will put you under its influence. The more you know, the more you'll be influenced. Let's move on to the last section of the rules. This is a note left by an unknown jellyfish guest room user, already put inside the whale's area bin. And the description of this notice, the beginning and sides are littered with "I am afraid," "I want to survive," "don't believe," all messed up, "I must write it down," where the title should have been in bold strokes. If these are not followed, there is no escape. Rule 1. Monkeys and white lions can see it. Jellyfish and rabbits can soothe it. Elephants and goats are its toys. Rule number 2. Trust white lions. White lions bite those with the hope of being saved, and they also bite those without. White lion's roar is the siren that drives it away. White lion's roar is the elegy to the deceased. Rule number 3. Changing clothes will be spotted. Do not change clothes. And then there's a mass scribble following this. Solidarity, courage, and unshakable loyalty are humans' best advantages. Here, there might be a little bit of mistranslation. The original Chinese text also describe it as the human's most valuable qualities. Rule number 4. The guards in the elephant's area are trustworthy, but the end of their shift is 1 a.m. You must seek help before this. Rule number 5. It likes light, especially at night. It dislikes claustrophobic spaces, rests in dark and small rooms. Rule number 6. Heck, goat meat is really raw meat. This line is most sketchy, followed by another sentence in normal handwriting. I can actually fucking eat it. Rule number 7. You can't be discovered when standing next to monkeys. Rule number 8. Humans have two eyes, arranged horizontally, one on each of the nose. Others are not humans. If the appearance of humans changes, he or she is being watched by it. Do not trust humans that are not humans. Rule number 9. Do not care about visitors with smiles on their faces. They haven't discovered anything. Find people fearful like myself. They are trustworthy. They already know. Rule number 10. Thank the dry jellyfish and drowned elephants. Remember, they die for protecting humans. Rule number 11. There is an exit, but not in the monkeys area. I do not know where the road leads to. Rule number 12. At all times, remember you are human and not animal. There are some translator notes here, which I will not read. And then the author added a few notes after completing this set of rules. I will not provide any official solutions. I'm happy that people are interested in the puzzle behind the rules, and there exists a unique solution. But my emphasis is the story's enigmatic background and lack of security due to the conflicting rules. I'm happy to give 3 official hints though. Number 1. There exist causal links between some rules of different groups. Rule number 2. Rabbit blood equals goat meat. Rule number 3. The goal is to escape, not maintain. There is also a long Q&A paragraph underneath. I suggest you go and take a look. It's very, very long, so I will not be reading it out loud. So, with all these different sections of rules, we can immediately deduce some constants in the zoo. Constant number 1. It is an entity that roams the zoo. It can make sounds like the laughter and cries of young children, and it will appear that there are no measures that could restrain or contain it. Constant number 2. It, as an entity, can influence the perception and cognitions of humans, and it seems that the influence will take place whether the victims are aware of its presence or not. But one thing's for certain, the more one knows about it, the more serious the influence could get. Those who fall too deep under its influence will begin to believe they are animals, and they will become animals in other people's eyes as well. Constant number 3. Different areas in the zoo, including the aquarium, serve different purposes. We don't have a definite answer on what the relationship between the zoo and the aquarium is. Most theories agree that, since the director is in charge of both the zoo and the aquarium, they belong to the same facility, just different sectors. Constant number 4. Almost all animals in the zoo are actually humans under its influence, rabbit being the most common and dangerous ones, for they would eat people. Ghosts and rabbits are mostly likely the same. Constant number 5. The white lions are probably not humans, but some kind of device or mechanism to help cleanse its influence from individuals. If an individual is beyond cure, this process will likely kill them. Constant number 6. We don't know what its purpose is, but we know that it will definitely lead to the harms of humans. Constant number 7. It either dwells in the shadows under the light or casts its influence through shadows under the light, and its influence could not reach areas of complete darkness. And building on these constants, there are many theories on the nature of the zoo, including what this zoo is. Is it a place in the alternate dimension? Or is it a containment facility like the ones we commonly see in SCP lore? There are many missing details, which provide enough room for us to theorize but not enough to say which is the right answer. And since the original author declared that there is only one correct answer, yet she will not disclose what it is, I imagine this story will continue to be a topic of internet discussion and debate. And amongst all these theories I've read, here is the general theory I found that I could agree to the most. First point of this theory: the zoo and the aquarium belong to the same group. Second point: the official rules are meant for different people under different states of its influence. If you are a visitor, your only purpose is to escape the zoo and not linger. If you are an employee, then you are most likely a brave volunteer helping to keep it contained, even though you are aware of its horror. And unfortunately, some of the rules, if applicable to you, will lead you to your death, as it would be the only optimal solution to keep it in the zoo. Point number 3. The notes left by people could be less believable than the official rules, though they more accurately depict what it is like to be under its influence. Point number 4. The zoo is intentionally open to the public so that there is enough constant traffic of humans to disperse its influence. Because of its mimetic nature and the implication that it cannot be physically contained, having an isolated group around it will not work, as it will just turn the group one by one and then escape. Thus, the only way to contain it would be to have a constant flow of people to keep it entertained, and its influence shallow and widely, thinly spread, while providing ways for people to escape to minimize the danger it could do. It's a suboptimal solution, of course, but it's the best option available so far. Now, that would be all for this video on the internet sensation that is the rules to City Zoo. I'd be happy to learn what you think of the rules, and what the nature of the zoo is, and what it is. Please be civil in the comments. Thank you again for your time and have a wonderful day.